Hello beautiful people, Robin Thomas here, also known as Braids by Ra. Welcome back to my channel. Alright, so it is week 8 of our Protected Styling one-on-one, where you and we sit down, we talk and discuss all about protective styles. And on week 8, which is our last week actually talking about protective styles, we're going to get into cornrows, the original. So if you're interested in cornrows being a protective style for you, please stay tuned. Okay, so let's get into the obvious pros when it comes to cornrows as protective styles. First things first, they are gorgeous. When it comes to cornrows as a protective style, I believe you can be so creative artistically in expressing whatever it is that you want to express. You know, as an artist, you can just create, like, the client's head is your canvas. You can become so creative when it comes to cornrows. Unlike any type of individuals like box braids, Marley twists, Senegalese twists, or any pole locks, goddess locks, or anything like that. You can get creative with those, but cornrows braided to your scalp, that does something to me, okay? You can be so versatile and so creative and so expressive when it comes to cornrows. So that is my #1 biggest pro when it comes to cornrows. The artist, the stylist that is installing the cornrows, or the person, you know, that has a vision in their hair and like, I want my cornrows to look like this. It is a form of expression. Hair period is a form of expression, but cornrows, you can really express yourself through them. Okay, so on today we're going to discuss cornrows with just your hair, and we're also going to discuss cornrows with added weave. So feed-in braids and cornrows that has the knot at the top. So to start it off, we're going to talk about normal cornrows. So let's get started. Okay, so I mentioned being artistically creative when it comes to cornrolling your hair, whether it is without added hair weave or with added hair weave. You can be extremely creative. So that is one of the pros that I have for cornrows. Another pro that I have for cornrows is that you don't have any tension or unnecessary tension or added weight because you're not adding hair to your head. The past couple years, being creative with cornrows has come back into style. A lot of people are doing, especially natural people, are doing a lot of like braided updos and things like that. You see a lot of males coming back in wearing like the man bun braids and things like that, or even just wearing cornrows, you know, straight to the back or design like. So you can be really creative without adding any unnecessary hair or tension that could cause breakage, or that can cause the integrity of your hair to kind of decrease, you know, from adding hair weave and things on top of it, which is adding tension, which is something that you want to be very careful about. But we'll get into that whenever we talk about feed-in braids and cornrows with hair weave. I believe one of the most simplest ways to grow out your natural hair is to cornrow it, leave it alone. Like, I really believe whenever you have cornrows in your hair, unlike individuals like box braids, Marley twists, or Senegalese twists, or something like that, you're not manipulating your hair at all. Like, as opposed to, you know, even with the individuals, you are still like, you know, moving your hair up, moving your hair down, and things like that. Cornrows, your hair is literally resting the entire time. You know, whether you're using it as a foundation for your wigs, your sew-ins, your crochet braids, or you're actually just wearing cornrows as a creative style, your hair is totally at rest. You know, we all know that any type of manipulation causes our strands to become weaker, which can cause all the other issues that may occur from constant manipulation. Cornrows as a style in itself, or as a foundation for another style, to me is like excellent. It is an excellent way to grow out your natural hair. Another pro to that is you have complete access to your scalp. So you're able to go in and oil your scalp. If you need to wash your hair, you're able to get up in there and wash your hair and wash your scalp. A tip for you guys, if you are wearing your hair free, or even if you're wearing it like under a wig or something like that, if you're wearing it to where you're able to access your ends, make sure that you are moisturizing and sealing in the moisture of your ends, okay? I actually have a video of me installing 2-strand twists, but the moisturization part of it is the exact same that you would do to the end of your cornrows. So I'm gonna leave that link below so that you all can check that out to help you when it comes to moisturizing your hair. But like I said, it gives you access, you know, you get complete access to your hair. You have access to your ends. We all know the ends is the oldest part of our hair. You're able to spray it with some water, you know, go in with a natural oil, seal that in, especially if, you know, you're wearing it free and your hair, okay, so your hair is just consistently rubbing up against this. When it gets to rubbing so much, you know, it eventually starts to get dry, and dry equals breakage. We all know that. So make sure that if you are wearing your cornrows, or even just as a tip for, you know, your natural hair care, always seal your ends. Always seal your ends. Because it'll help you in the long run. Personal opinion, I believe that when it comes to styling children, any type of cornrows with just their hair, cornrows with their hair, is a really great option. I would not suggest adding weave to children's hair. I think cornrows is a really great option when it comes to parents styling their children and their protective styles. Putting some braids into their child's head, maybe putting some beads on the end. Be careful when it comes to the rubber bands, because rubber bands can cause breakage. Be careful with the weight of the beads, because you don't want it to be weighed down or anything like that. But it really helps parents when it comes to maintaining their children's hair without having to braid or deal with their children's hair throughout the week or the next 2 weeks, especially with children who are really involved, or even with parents who have really extremely busy schedules who find it hard to continue to maintain their child's hair. So cornrows with their own hair is a very, very great option when it comes to protective styling for kids.
Alrighty, so let's get into feed-in braids. First things first, they're absolutely gorgeous. I think that's like my second time doing that on a video. I don't know why, but it's funny to me. But feed-in braids are a work of art. Like, they are stress-free on your edges or the start of your braid. When done right and the right amount of hair is put in, they can be very, very beautiful and very beneficial to you when it comes to your healthy hair growth journey, while also looking very stylish and creative and things like that. So feed-in braids are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So let's get into the pros and the cons of feed-in braids. As with all protective styles, with feed-in braids, you can be extremely creative. The options are endless. I mean, you know, you take some cornrows and you design them how you want to, or you have this vision in your head, and either your hairdresser or your braider or yourself, you know, you're putting in these beautiful designs with feed-in braids. So you can be very versatile. I mean, there are unlimited options of ways you can design your hair for your parting for your feed-in braids. Okay, so what I would say has to be my biggest pro for feed-in braids is that you don't have to put a lot of stress, or there is no stress. Now, this is when the person who is putting your feed-in braids, or if it's yourself, whenever you're installing your feed-in braids, you are making sure that you are not adding too much hair. You know, some people have this idea in their head where whenever they go get their braids done, they don't want their scalp to show because they don't want their new growth to show and whatever. Listen, you have to protect your hair with these protective styles, you know, or else your hair is going to break off. So like I said, being able to start feed-in braids, the biggest pro I have for feed-in braids is because you are starting with your hair as opposed to cornrows with added weave, where you're starting with the weave hair. It is less stress. When I say less, I mean like tremendous less stress to your edges or any part of your hair when you're braiding your hair or when you're starting your braid. To start with your hair and to add small pieces at a time. We all know that the edges especially are the weakest. They're the most sensitive, and being able to start your braids with your hair and slowly add in hair over time is great. You know, it's great whenever it comes to the weight or the tension on your hair. Okay, so this is a good time to explain, and I probably should have done this at first, but this is a good time to explain exactly what feed-in braids are. So what happens is you start with your hair. So you do a couple of revolutions, maybe 4 or something, or 2 revolutions or something, 2 to 4 revolutions. And then you start to add small pieces of braiding hair as you are cornrowing the hair. So you are feeding, literally where the term feed-in braids comes from, you're feeding the hair in as you are braiding. So that is where the term feed-in braids come from. Instead of starting them at the beginning of your braid, instead of using weave to start your cornrow with weave, instead you're starting with your hair, so that it is a lot less stress on your strands, and also so there isn't a lot of unevenness. So this is something that I would, when I first started braiding, like really young, that I would have problems with adding weave hair. The braids on the side and the braids in the middle will always be uneven. Nothing was ever even. And the feed-in process helps that to become even. I personally do not like starting off braids with hair weave for myself. I like the feed-in method because it's natural, it's stress-free, or more stress-free, and it just looks really beautiful and really gorgeous. Okay, so I want to get into a variation of feed-in braids, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about stitch braids. So stitch braids and feed-in braids are really the exact same thing. The only difference is you literally have those lines in there. You have those lines that are making it more defined, and another difference is less hair is used so that the lines are super duper defined. This is a good alternative to those who don't like really chunky feed-in braids. As with all protective styles, you want to be aware of how much hair you're putting onto your head or your client's head. Remember, it is health over everything when it comes to protective styling. So please be aware of how much hair you're putting in. If a client doesn't have edges or has missing spots, please don't add hair. Those are my only cons.
Thank you all so much for tuning in with me today to talk about cornrows as protective braiding styles. If you have not already, go ahead and hit subscribe so that you don't miss any other videos I have to upload. I have lots and tons of information to give about protective braiding styles. I'm so happy for those who are subscribers here. Hello to all of my new subscribers. Thank you all for joining me. I hope that the information that I give you all is helpful for you in your healthy hair growth journey when it comes to using protective braiding styles to aid in your hair growth. On next week, we are actually going to be wrapping it up. I know I said that this is going to be a 12-week series for protective styling, but I was able to compile the last couple of weeks together. Next week, we're going to be talking about preparation for protective styles, installation process, maintenance while you have your protective styles in, a resting period, and on to your next protective style. So if you guys are interested in that, remember, we are not only worried about the end products, we're worried about the complete process. So if you guys are interested in that, please go ahead and subscribe. Those of you who are already subscribed, wait till next week to see my last video on our protective styling series. Again, thank you all so much, and I'm looking forward to talking with you again. Peace and blessings.